Hey, RetconRaider here, and welcome back to Warhammer 40k Rogue Trader. As today, we make a tremendous step towards restoring our trade empire. At least the core of our trade empire. There is still so much more for us to do out here. But, you know, one bit at a time, piece by piece, we're chipping away. Lord Kenton, Master Helmsman on the line. I can report that the quest for the capital world of the Von Valancius dynasty is finally at an end. Dargonis is straight ahead. We have received countless greetings. Your subjects would like to know when their master will be arriving. The merchant captains taking refuge in the orbital docks of Dargonis race to send you priceless welcoming gifts, hoping to buy your favor and make an impression on the rogue trader. As well they should. Call ahead. Tell Dargonis their new rogue trader has almost arrived. It will be done, Lord Kenton. After the connection to the Master Helmsman is cut, the device crackles with Heinrich's voice. Lord Captain, I will be pleased to accompany you during your visit to Dargonis, so I can personally introduce Achilles Scalander, a servant of the Golden Throne who previously attended Lady Theodora on Dargonis. I am counting on your benevolence. The Voxcast ends with a click. Cool. Glad they spelled that out for me. Otherwise, how would I have known the call was over? Alright. Let's scan these planets, then we'll get boots down on Dargonis. Ooh, Phlogiston, yes, please. We literally just spent everything we had getting that last project going.
Intriguing surface topography. It is possible that the molten rock of the mantle poured out as a consequence of a natural cataclysm, or a collusion with a celestial body.
That is intriguing. Thank you, Pascal. Last one. And nothing. Now this ship, I guess?
Lord Captain, a transport shuttle bearing the markings of the Adeptus Mechanicus is approaching the ship. Magos Tarsus' delegation intends to board our ship and gain an audience with your lordship. This is exactly how they phrased it. He intends, not humbly requests.
I mean, presumptuous, but not necessarily out of character.
Many of my tech comrades neglect diplomacy when interacting with the laity. It is regrettable.
Yeah, no worries, bud. Valen grew up on a Forge world, he knows how it is. Vigdis, any hint at what they actually need from us?
The honorable servants of the Omnissiah have ignored our request. Such arrogance is hardly trivial. It rather appears to be part of their intimidation tactics.
Okay, that is unusual. I don't think I recall this from Alpha. I think this is something new. Right, well, if they came all this way, it must be something important. Send them in.
It will be done, Lord Captain.
Requesting permission to be present at the audience granted to my tech comrades.
Oh, wait a minute. Okay, so we're going in full party. That implies combat. And Pask is mandatory, so okay, this must be part of his personal quest. Alright, more new content for me to explore. Let's see what's going on. Hey, it's Opticon 22. Wow. Honestly, never thought we'd see him off Footfall. That's fun. And we are in the trophy gallery, where Conrad first tried to kill us. This is where he sicked those reprogrammed servitors on us. Man, that was like 50 episodes ago. A group dressed in the crimson of the priesthood of Mars walks toward you. Their gazes are fixed on Pascal. You note that the group is not monolithic. Some of its members are more heavily armed and follow a large tech priest clad in battle armor. Others keep a respectful distance and cast inquiring looks at their own leader, whose hunched posture belies his tall frame. Despite the hood hiding his face, you recognize him as Opticon 22, whom you encountered on Footfall. The enormous tech priest points his hand at Pascal and lets out a booming roar not unlike a factory alarm. It makes your very bones vibrate. Herald servo skulls marked with the emblem of the cog follow in his wake. They blare shrilly.
Thou shalt not suffer a heretic in thy forge, for rust begets rust. Pascal Hanuman, in the name of the Adeptus Mechanicus, you are under arrest.
Oh. Slightly unexpected, but okay. The hunched servant of the Omnissiah turns to you.
Diplomacy mode engaged. Announcement. The Adeptus Mechanicus offer their apologies / would like to inform you of the necessity of conducting an operation to detain / arrest / terminate a faulty unit in the rogue trader's territory.
Oh, is this about Abel? That would explain why I've never seen it before. We didn't rescue him back in the Alpha. You identify the rare armor the enormous tech priest is wearing as a Secutor's plated, mechanized suit. It carries the imprints of many battles and has markings that announce its status as a relic. Some of the armor's damage looks fairly severe, to the point of endangering its operation. The slivers of flesh revealed under the steel are marked with terrible chemical burns. Every now and then, convulsions shake the tech priest's body, and a painful-sounding hiss comes from his vox. The tall tech priest who spoke to you looks more peaceful and makes a point of not drawing his weapon. There is an air of concern about the way he frequently glances over at his fellow, scrutinizing his condition. Ooh, okay, so it sounds like Opticon 22 didn't even want to come here. It's likely something done at the insistence of this other guy. Opticon, honored guests, glory to the Adeptus Mechanicus. What can I help you with?
Willingness to cooperate recorded. Mandate expanded. I request the right to conduct / non-interference in the operation to detain / arrest / terminate the unit falsely identifying itself as Pascal Hanuman.
Oh dear, just coming right out and saying it, huh?
This heretic is accused of stealing personal identification codes, spreading tech heresy on the world of Kiava Gamma, and making an attempt on the life of a servant of the Omnissiah.
The deafening roar from the tech priest's vox makes you grimace in pain. You touch your ear and notice blood on your fingers.
The faulty unit will be removed. In the name of the Omnissiah, I condemn you.
Lightning flashes across the warrior's armor. Agony resounds in the blare of his vox alarm. In contrast, Pascal speaks quietly and coldly.
You are malfunctioning, tech comrade. I deem your logical conclusions questionable. The statement is false. Tech Brother Tarzus Hanuman is willingly undergoing holy torment/deterioration, which, however, does not affect/does not critically affect his cognitive capacity for data analysis. Unit calling itself Pascal Hanuman, we have information that implicates you. Having learned that you are a member of the retinue/a maintenance specialist in the service of Rogue Trader von Valancius, we have come here with the goal of meeting you/intercepting you/engaging you in combat.
Optic, buddy, don't make me kill you. Hey, can we maybe lower the volume here a little? I'm sure we can talk this out like rational, civilized cyborgs.
Negative. Upon completing his sanctification procedure, Tech Brother Tarzus vowed/modified his engrammatic augmetics algorithms in order never to desecrate/sully/tarnish his mouth/vox/cognitive process with flesh speak.
The Servo Skulls screech.
Mine is the pure and binaric tongue that preserves only what is true and shuns scrap data.
Hold on, let's back up a sec. Did you just say that this guy here is a living saint?
This statement is true. Brother Tarzus has the honor of wearing/authorization to wear the sacred battle harness that belonged to Magos militant Auspector Gracchus, one of the first champions of the Faith/Holy Scouts to join the cause of conquering the Coronis Expanse. After his death/the termination of his vital functions at the hands of Xenos, his damaged Goliath-class armor was preserved and given the status of a relic. The Adeptus Mechanicus regard this act as voluntary martyrdom/self-destruction for the glory of the Deus Mechanicus. This battle harness is classified as Cogni armor. The machine spirit living in it is strong and wise, but it took major damage in the course of Magos Gracchus's last battle. Besides sacred litanies and imperatives of service to the Omnissiah, the armor broadcasts a continuous signal of suffering and agony into Tech Brother Tarzus's mind.
Oh, cool. Yeah, that does seem like it might be a bit of an issue. Alright, Opti, buddy, it's not that I doubt your word, but, do we have some sort of way to prove that this guy is what he claims he is?
Confirmed. According to the archive entry 1E99237, Magos Explorator Tarzus Hanuman served on/maintained the ship, identifier classified, in the capacity of a reliquary caretaker. He sustained extensive damage to both the organic and the sacred part of his body in a series of sacrilegious breaches of the right of operation/an assassination attempt.
What a coincidence. Someone also tried to assassinate Pascal.
Owing to a statistically fortunate coincidence/by the Omnissiah's grace, enough of his operational capacity was preserved for him to don a Goliath model sacred battle harness, which would preserve his vital function/functionality. Archive entry personally data sealed by the captain of Identifier Classified.
Yeah, that doesn't really set my mind at ease, buddy. The sounds from the Tech Priest Vox is like the moan of a bending steel beam. A Servo Skull declares,
For vengeance I thirst as I tread the path of vengeance, following a blasphemous miscreant's bloody tracks. Analysis of the security system showed that the assassins/heretics infiltrated the reliquary using Tech Brother Tarzus's unique identification code. Someone had stolen/duplicated Brother Tarzus's identity, which is a Grade 3 transgression, and the unit making the allegedly criminal claim of being Pascal Hanuman is known to have previously used/entered the stolen code.
Okay, I see. Hold on now, you said this took place on Calva Gamma? As far as I'm aware, Pascal's never even been there.
According to Vox interception data, the planet's fabricator sensor made incorrect/blasphemous modifications to manufacturum working procedures. which qualifies as a lapse into sacrilege. The Adeptus Mechanicus are hereby officially notifying House von Valancius of having commenced an investigation into / operation to remove Fabricator Sensor Cubus Delphine. Estimated time to procedure completion, 3.7 solar years.
Oh, cool. Well, I guess I'll just leave that to you guys then. Sounds like you're on top of it.
Our data suggests that the unit, which used Magos Explorator Hanuman's identification code, performed an unauthorized upgrade on the planetary Vox array and introduced data deemed to be scrap code into its operation. This fact points to this unit's criminal complicity with the heretic Cubus Delphine.
Okay, so we've basically got another Abel situation, and technically another Tarza situation as well. Multiple tech priests all claiming to be Hanumans, sharing the same unique identification code. At least 4 now. Tarzus, Pascal, Abel, plus whoever's assisting Cubus Delphine on Kiava Gamma. But that would certainly explain the confusion we're seeing here. All of the Hanuman appear to believe that they are the originals. Pascal? Anything you'd like to share? Pascal replies firmly, his vox crackling with a hint of indignation.
I deny these charges. I never plotted against my tech comrade. My cognitive purity vows were never distorted. My unique identification code was never stolen. I am the true Magos Explorator Hanuman, and I am not guilty.
The tech priest's deep, guttural roar blends with the servo skull's high-pitched whine.
False witness!
Yeah, look, let's take it down a notch. I think it's obvious there's more going on here than meets the eye. Or the Opticon. I'm happy to work with you in trying to parse it all out, but let's not do anything we can't take back. Not for nothing, but I do have you outgunned.
Request approved. Ready to work in cooperative mode.
Tarzus gives you a haughty look and lets out a howl of wrath.
Archiving. Tech Brother Tarzus opposes lay participation in the investigation / search for the truth. The unit Opticon 22 advises in favor of the House von Valancius representatives' participation request.
Knew you'd come around, buddy. Opticon, what do you say you and I, take this to a sidebar? I'm starting to get the distinct impression your big friend here can't exactly be reasoned with.
Request denied. Tech Brother Tarzus has passed sanctification and has relic privileges. I lack the authority / access level necessary to command this unit.
There is a hint of animosity toward the bloodthirsty tech priest in Opticon 22's voice. Ah, right, yeah. So Opti definitely does not want to be here. But he literally has no choice because of the established hierarchy of the Explorator fleet. Yeah, I have to imagine there's not much higher on the totem pole than an actual factual living saint. Well, I hate to pull rank, but as a rogue trader, I hold a fair bit of sway myself. You have to know that arresting my chief engine seer would certainly cause some friction. I insist on a joint investigation. Surely you don't intend to violate my warrant of trade.
Request for cooperation reviewed and accepted. I request Tech Brother Tarzus's consent to the co-participation of representatives of the von Valancius dynasty in the investigation proceedings. A sacrilegious conspiracy! I refuse help from laypersons. I am a cog of the Deus Mechanicus that grinds down corruption, and I will carry out the sentence immediately.
Pascal freezes, but green sparks light up in his visor. He extends a hand towards Tarzus and replies, in a clanging voice.
Let the cycle be discontinued.
You realize Pascal's words are coming from both his own Vox and Tarzis's. Then every sensor on the Executioner's battle harness lights up at once, blindingly, and the wounded armored Leviathan lets out a deafening roar of pain.
Attention! Priority notification! Service units of the Kappa-Thread supply line are unauthorized to confront the rogue trader. Command, retreat and reinitiate negotiations. Heretic Pascal! I will wreak punishment upon you in the name of the Deus Mechanicus!
Oh dear.
Your arrogance will be your downfall.
Yeah, what he said. Arrogance, downfall, etc. Sorry, Tarzis, you just officially bit off more than you can chew. All right, let's humble this living saint. I am kind of hoping we can talk some sense into him, but at the same time, I think it's safe to say he's not really the sensible sort. Though it is intriguing if we view him as an aspect of a disparate, split personality, because he could easily be something like the pride or the rage, depending on how you're trying to define each piece. Pascal is similarly driven, but he's also a lot more inquisitive, a lot more pragmatic about his approach.
Indeed.
He's definitely the most socially functional of the three Hanumans we've met so far, with Abel, of course, being the most logical, one who has a brilliant mind, but little in the way of social mores or impetus to actually put it to use. Yeah, I'm obviously not too worried about these guys. They're so clustered up, we're going to curb stomp them before they can even do anything. Hence, I am just using the time to mull on the nature of Pascal.
What, of course.
And the collective Hanumen. I'm trying to think of how you would define or compartmentalize each of the Hanumen.
On it.
Like, we've already got at least 4 in circulation. These 3 plus the one on Kiava Gamma. So that immediately rules out the like Freudian classification of id, ego, and superego. Emotions are too basic. I mean, I'd be hard pressed to really define Abel or Pascal with any specific emotion.
I'm not accustomed to being ordered around.
I guess the best fit would probably be, at least based on what we've seen thus far, the 7 deadly sins? Which I suppose would make some sort of literary sense.
Emperor, give me strength.
If we assume that Amarnot himself was in fact a heretic.
Isn't this a job for the serfs?
Tarzis could be wrath. Abel,
If
sloth.
I may.
Pascal could be pride, which is sometimes also known as hubris.
Isn't this a job for the serfs?
I feel like that might be a fair fit. Though, I mean, at the same time, I'd be pretty hard-pressed to imagine any Hanuman that might embody something like lust. So that might be a bit of a stretch. Though I suppose it really comes down to how you define it, because, I mean, a focus on reproduction over, you know, sexual gratification, that might loosely fit the bill. Maybe that's the one on Kiava Gamma, the one that helped co-opt the Manufactorums. They are now spitting out all manner of monstrosities, like that Forge Fiend we fought. So what else would there be? Greed, gluttony, envy. I do feel like there's some potential there, but I mean, it's also definitely a stretch. Still makes good food for thought, though. I imagine it'll be easier to actually come up with more solid theories as we encounter more Hanumen. Starting with the one on Kiava Gamma, but I have to imagine there's more beyond that. This is just Act 2, after all. I'll be curious to see where this all goes and just how close I got on some of this stuff.
I deal death with my hands.
That is a big part of the appeal for these Owlcat RPGs. As for Tarzus here, yeah, fight's going about how I figured. Poor guy never stood a chance. As soon as I saw that battle formation, I knew they wouldn't be a serious threat. It is a rarity to have that many enemies clustered into a single blast radius.
I'll make it happen.
Lead with Abby, grab their attention, gather them with Point of Curiosity, stun with
I'll
Gaze.
see to it personally.
Not to mention that Force Grenade, of course, that was pretty glorious. Fight was over before it even began. We're just mopping up.
At your beck and call. I will do my duty. At your beck and call.
Was that you? Or...
Okay, Servitor is done.
As duty demands.
Yep, there it goes. It was either that or the poison.
Me. If you insist, Lord Captain.
These poor guys. I think this is the most one-sided fight we've had the entire campaign.
Indeed. It will be done.
The scriptural prognosis is favorable. Activate calculated fury algorithm.
If it serves your cause.
High momentum.
Add subtracted. Let's wrap this up.
This tedium is beneath me. If I must. I will not.
Oh. Abby jumping the gun there. Is that all you got? You say nothing.
Requesting cessation of hostilities.
Request approved. Opti, I never wanted to fight in the first place. I was just defending myself. Tend to your fallen tech brother.
The unit that called itself Tarsus Hanuman is dead / has been disabled. This material asset is beyond restoration or reuse as spare parts.
After a pause, Pascal bows his head, and a binaric requiem pours out of his box.
Despite his misconceptions, he was a servant of the Omnissiah.
Yeah. Pask, I gotta ask, what exactly did you do to him there? Pascal's confused reply comes from his box in a rasp.
Unable to fulfill request. The Omnissiah granted me an epiphany, and I muted the maimed machine spirit that was filling Tarsus's mind with fury. I do not fully understand the manner of my appeal to it. The situation perfectly mirrors the incident on Rykad Minoris, where I appealed to the machine spirit of a malfunctioning mechanism and laid it to rest.
Right. Well, regardless, I'm sorry things played out the way they did. Didn't really want things to turn out this way, but he did force our hand. Never thought I'd have to destroy a reliquary of the Adeptus Mechanicus, let alone put down a living saint.
I also regret / have a negative assessment of this event. The Adeptus Mechanicus still accuse the unit identifying itself as Pascal Hanuman of criminal theft of a unique identification code. Unlike Tech Brother Tarsus, I am not authorized to immediately arrest / execute the unit. But neither am I authorized to drop the inquiry. There are no apostates among us.
The piercing voice from the Vox synth is more overwhelming than Tarsus's thunderous roar.
Tech Brother Tarsus and the machine spirit that lived in his battle harness succumbed to the suffering that beset them. Their judgment was rash and erroneous. Now their torment is over. I declare them martyrs, and am requisitioning Tarsus Hanuman's neural augmetic for the purposes of preserving his blessed memory.
As astonished tech priests look on, Pascal leans over the slain man's body and extracts the augmetic from his skull. His movements are as precise as they are respectful. Pascal, buddy, this feels like it might be kind of... The tech priest makes an imperious gesture, stopping you from continuing. With each word, Pascal's voice grows more powerful and majestic.
You saw the agony your tech brother Tarsus was in. His unbridled, pain-spurred faith intimidated you, yet you were silent. Reverence stopped you from raising your voices to proclaim that the machine spirit, with which his mind had merged, was morbidly afflicted. The imperative of reverence had paralyzed your will, and you watched a tragedy unfold in silence. The sixth universal law states that comprehension is the true path to knowledge, yet the procedural cycle has robbed you of your comprehension. Therefore, let the cycle be discontinued.
There is a clang as Opticon's knee presses to the floor. Crimson hooded heads are bowed.
Let the cycle be discontinued.
The radiant light pouring out of Pascal's visor grows dimmer. Static creeps back into his voice.
Let the cycle be discontinued, tech comrades.
Okay, I'm glad we all seem to be on the same page now. I'm just not sure how we got here. Anyone care to explain? Pascal's vox synth crackles, somewhat tentatively.
I decided to sustain my words with an excerpt from one of the blessed Amarnot's sermons. On loss of internal and external function, verse 4. My analysis deemed it appropriate.
And Opticon, you seem to take pretty well to that.
It has been a long time since the words of the Messiah of Discontinuing were last spoken openly / over public communication bans. We respectfully welcome Wisdom's return.
Messiah of Discontinuing? That's new.
So he is not forgotten after all.
Messiah of Discontinuing? Was that an official title? Pascal never mentioned it.
Following Archmagos Amarnot's partial laicization / removal from the chain of command, that was the authorship attributed to the series of sermons on discontinuing the cycle that were disseminated across the Cognizance fleet. It was, in fact, a title used by many in times past.
Wait, I was under the assumption Amarnot's teachings were borderline heretical.
This statement is false. Contrary to what many servants of the Omnissiah thought they knew / preferred to believe, the Fleet's Supreme Conclave never formulated / issued an official statement on that decision. 37% of the Supreme Conclave's members openly supported Archmagos Amarnot's views, and disappeared / were removed from the chain of command, under circumstances that were classified. The Supreme Conclave has not had a quorum ever since.
Oh wow, so over a third of their leadership. Does anyone actually know what happened to Archmagos Amarnot?
Data unavailable. No reports have mentioned Archmagos Amarnot since the incident on the Arc Mechanicus Hermetico, which led to the presumed destruction / disappearance of that void ship. My archive has no data on the Hermetico incident. The vessel was the Blessed Amarnot's base of operations. Is it lost, then?
Pascal's voice is filled with anxiety. Hermetico. So Opticon, you also followed Amarnot.
Negative. I had no contact with Archmagos Amarnot, and was never a member of his flock / disciples / retinue. However, my analysis of the doctrine he outlined inspired in me deep respect for / trust in him.
Understood. So look, I know this wasn't an ideal resolution for any of us, but can we call this square?
The data received provides a basis for calling the fallen tech brother Tarsus's hypothesis into question. Out of respect for / due to the lack of authorization to indict followers of the Messiah of Discontinuing, we will not proceed with the detainment / arrest / termination.
Glad to hear it.
The Omnissiah knows all, comprehends all. Thank you, Tech Brother Opticon 22.
Well, circumstances aside, you're welcome to stay on board if you wish, Opticon. Always honored to have more tech brethren around.
Request denied. The Kappa Thread supply line delegation is leaving Dargonis, expresses gratitude for the hospitality / ceasefire, and proclaims its intent to return to Footfall to resume performing its regular functions.
The tech priest looks over at Pascal, as if waiting for something. Pascal's mechadendrite briefly touches the shoulder of Opticon 22, who bows respectfully. Well, that was fascinating. honestly, not a whole lot there that really goes outside the boundaries of what I was already kind of speculating, at least where Pascal is concerned. Especially with how they very deliberately made note of him removing Tarsus' neural augmetic to preserve his memory, quote-unquote. Which would also, of course, mean that whatever fragment of Amarnot might be floating in Tarsus is now in Pascal's possession, as is Abel's, technically. So it really does feel like they're setting him up to become either the replacement Amarnot, or to just take on the mantle of the original Amarnot at some point, as we assemble more of these pieces and find a way to put them all back together. I suppose the real question being whether his own unique individual personality would survive that process. Perhaps that's a choice we'll have to help him make later down the line. Whether to sacrifice himself for that conglomerate collective, or to persist in a unique individual existence, which would involve, I suppose, having to give up on his ultimate goal, that being the recovery or restoration of his alleged mentor. Not much in the way of notable loot. Really would have expected Tarsus to drop something nicer. I suppose we did trash him pretty thoroughly. That aside, I think the implication was that Pascal did kill the machine spirit that powered the reliquary armor he was wearing, which honestly probably plays into how easy he went down too afterwards. At that point, he was just essentially a crippled tech priest wearing a dead suit of power armor.
Is there money to be made?
You know, that's kind of an interesting parallel, too. Pascal did mention that there were other people in the past who had also carried the title Messiah of Discontinuing, and his whole gimmick, his secret power, seems to be ending the long cyclical suffering of machines that are forced to continue service even after they're otherwise crippled or may have otherwise outlived their original purpose. That would dovetail pretty nicely into the idea that ultimately Pascal will have to decide whether to perpetuate the cycle of the Messiah of Discontinuing or bring it to an ultimate end. You know what? We are already at time, but let's have a quick follow-up with Pascal. I wouldn't mind mining some more data here. And he seems to have relocated. Hey, Pask, what's going on?
My apologies. 19% of my processing power is engaged in the analysis of my tech comrade's memory. My response time may be longer than usual.
Pascal raises his eyes from a data slate connected to an augmetic. The augmetic used to be housed inside the skull of Tarsus, the tech priest who perished on your ship. I see. Mind if I ask how it's going?
The data is scarce. His identification code is the same as mine, and his memory contains data confirming that the assassination did take place. Unfortunately, some of his memory was damaged by pulses broadcast by his battle harness. I can assert with some confidence that he was who he claimed to be, and that he served the Deus Mechanicus earnestly and eagerly.
I mean, that's assuming you take his memories at face value. We both saw he wasn't exactly the most stable individual.
Notwithstanding his permanent state of agony, he was not cognitively dysfunctional. His desire to immediately destroy the object he had deemed profane was partly dictated by his engrammatic augmentics, which were receiving imperatives from his battle harness.
Okay, well that's fair, I suppose. It was technically two separate entities.
In light of the oddness of our matching identification codes, I find merit in his hypothesis as to the existence of a clandestine malevolent agent or conspiracy operating inside our fraternity.
Yeah, I'd say that's a pretty likely hypothesis. You know, Tarsus was the target of an assassination attempt, just like you were. Any idea who might be behind that?
No data available. I will hypothesize that the assassination was instigated by an enemy of the Blessed Amanat's doctrine. I accept the possibility that the assassins were targeting me, only to be led astray by Tarsus and my own identical identifiers. I am concerned about the fate of Archmagus Amanat. According to Opticon 2.2, he went missing in the wake of the incident on an Arch Mechanicus, the Hermetico. Information about that ship and its perishing has been purged from the archives. I accept the possibility that the incident on the ship, the concealed data, and the assassination have all been part of a single conspiracy.
Yes, again, on the same wavelength here with you, buddy. And speaking of Opticon 2.2, what do you make of his response to the words of the blessed Amarnot? Doesn't really jive with what you told me before.
I was not knowledgeable as to how popular Blessed Amanat's teaching was in exploratory circles. The Cognizance fleet is massive. His ideas might have found a larger following on its periphery than in the Mother Squadron.
Well, based on what Opticon was saying, I can definitely see why you were concerned about Amarnot's teachings potentially causing a schism. There is logic to his words, but that's dangerous when it conflicts with the faith.
Of course, faith is dangerous. Faith is the prerogative of the spirit, and a spiritless mind is an enemy of all existence. Without faith, there is no meaning in anything, no point to any aspirations or limitations. But faith can take different forms.
Pascal looks at you askance, and the voice from his Vox synthesizer takes on an otherworldly profundity.
The form of prohibitions established by unknown elders. The form of an audacious violation of those prohibitions. The form of following dogma or of schism. The form of following the cycle or of discontinuing the cycle. In a system with two courses of action, schism is inevitable. And only one of these paths will be true, as truth is discreetly separate from untruth.
Pascal's visor seems to almost pierce you with its glow. Did Amarnot actually believe those original prohibitions were wrong, or...
Amarnot did not reject any one specific prohibition, but found their cumulative effect to be oppressive. The system of rigid limitations had confined seekers of knowledge to a circular track, spelling doom for the thinking mind. And that cycle of repetition had to be broken. That was why he was dubbed the Messiah of discontinuing.
Right. Interesting. You know, I consider myself a man of faith. I believe in the Emperor, I believe in the Imperium. But at the same time, my own personal ideals do often clash with established dogma. I've said it before, but I can definitely see where Amarnot was coming from. Dogma can stifle or even actively hinder growth.
the Omnissiah has bestowed upon us the supreme mission, the quest for knowledge. The fact of its existence confirms that reason is yet to comprehend and quantify the universe in its entirety. This precludes the existence of any prohibition that could be considered universally relevant. All limitations need their exceptions, yet exceptions belie the inviolability of prohibitions.
Right, can't really think in absolutes. Pascal's voice takes on a thoughtful tone, and its otherworldly might peters out. Alright, well, I will do everything in my power to help you get this figured out. We're in this together, bud.
I will continue my research into the Blessed Martyr's memory with all due reverence.
Great. I'll leave you to it then. Thanks for your time, Pascal. Always a pleasure.
May your labors be effective and fruitful.
Likewise. May your own labors be full of fruit as well. How about you, Abel? I don't suppose you have anything for us? Perhaps picking up ambient signals of Tarsus's demise? Nope. Fair enough. But yeah, 2 pieces. 3 pieces, counting Pascal. Pascal's got a very intriguing backstory. I'm curious to see where it all goes. I mean, I like to imagine I've got it at least partially figured out, but, you know, we'll see. Sounds like Pascal's next stop is Kiava Gamma, and that's still a ways off. That's it. We'll hit the pause button for now. We'll take care of the usual off-screen bookkeeping, and we will pick up here next time, as we finally get boots down on Dargonis. See you then. Oh, and special thanks to the Raiders, the fine folks who help make these videos possible, including but not limited to Revenant, Alois, CrowkingLoR, Dragon Matrix 7, Drakiith, V23, EgonAlter, Exsellsior, Gottlieb, James Trimmier, Kazorm, Mark Giemza, Nathan Welch Jr., OverlordPherom, RandomPassrby, RobbyB, Tomasz Piątkowski, Triphoppenskip, and Valinrook. Thanks for your support, guys. That said, if you'd also like to help support the channel, then feel free to push the buttons that do the things. Trust me, it does make a difference. Or you could even check out the PayPal, the Patreon, the Nexus GG, or the YouTube memberships. Links are in the description.
My response time may be longer than usual.